South Africa is caught in a debt crisis. We are chatting to Rob Powell, CEO of TNS South Africa, and today we are looking at the result of the FinScope South Africa 2013 study conducted by TNS on behalf of Finmark Trust. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you. Hello.
Rob, let's get right into it. Borrowing and credit has significantly increased, and there is the definite threat of a debt trap to every South African. What has your study revealed on this?
So certainly that is true. We're seeing increases across the board in terms of access to and take-up of debt facilities for the ordinary adult South African. And I think the important thing to note is while the study is showing increases, we still believe that we underread the actual amount of debt and indebtedness that is out in the country. And the reason for that is this is a consumer survey where we're asking people to come to us and give us the information around debt.
And we will find that in South Africa, debt is still very taboo.
Hugely,
the subject of debt is still taboo, yet there are so many people affected by it.
Very much so, and I think that's one of our concerns has always been to create an environment where people will open up around debt, and increasingly it is difficult for people to do so. In fact, we found it's easier for people to talk about other subjects which are often more sensitive, such as sex or religion, rather than talking about debt itself. And to me, there seems to be an inhibition for people to really open up and start the dialogue with us and with others around the situations that they find themselves in, and therefore what they can do about those situations. So while we are seeing increases, I still believe that the survey results underread the degree to which there is a problem amongst many South Africans with regards to their financial well-being vis-a-vis the debt situations that they find themselves in.
But we are finding that the study did reveal that there are increases of millions.
Indeed.
Millions and
Indeed.
millions and millions. So we're not talking about little drops in the ocean here.
Certainly not. And I think that one of the things that has changed is the increased access people have to formalize debt, but more worrying for me is the unsecured formalized debt and what people are using that debt for. So while in the past I think that we were speaking a lot about the concerns I had, or we as a team had, around the increase in use of machinistas, loan sharks, and what that meant in terms of the prohibitive interest requirements off that debt, I think we've shifted that somewhat to say, what about the unsecured formal lending, and what does that mean to people in the long run?
I think unsecured lending in the past used to be, okay, I'll go and I'll take out a little loan and we'll build a Vibercredit, we'll build a pool, we'll go on a holiday. These days, unsecured lending is used to survive.
Absolutely.
And that is a problem, I would think.
Absolutely, and I think what we're seeing from the results is certainly some people are taking that money and using it to build onto their homes, using it for education, to help their children to better themselves. And all of those aspects are important and an important part of progress in life. But I agree that my concern is when that debt is being used to pay off other debt. So we start talking about this whole idea about debt spiraling, debt circulation, debt cycling. But the second thing is when people are using it for emergency situations, food, funerals, these sort of elements which of course give you no capital gain, give you no long-term gain with which you can then take what you spent the money on to help you to pay off the money in the future.
My concern there is then that we are sitting in a country where people are just not being able to survive from one salary payment to the next. So we simply don't have the capacity to maintain our standard of living, which in some cases is not a very high standard of living.
Indeed, and I think that it is difficult for people to make trade-offs. So if I think about somebody whose life is really sort of geared towards helping their children, making sure that they're fed, etc. If there's no money, if the salary just isn't covering all those costs, what do? You still need to feed your kids, you still need to send them to school. So you look for the alternatives that will help to make your life work. The problem is that once you start in that cycle of how you borrow money from the local store, or you take goods on credit, then you're looking at education, so you take a little loan out. Suddenly those loans attract high interest levels. Your next month's salary is used to facilitate the repayment of those loans. So again, you're short in the cash that you have. And you start having this very complicated cycle of money which is spent on debt and not spent on, or your money, your salary that you're getting every month is not spent on goods and services, it's rather in repayment of debt, right?